Well, we welcome you back once again to the airways of Salam Media on this beautiful day of Jum'ah. And once again, we continue. And in my introduction, I spoke about the truth. And sometimes the truth can never, ever be suppressed. And at some point in time, it must come out. And this is what we are talking about, unraveling the truth. And we are talking about the death and the destruction and all the devastation that is taking place in this genocidal war against the people of Palestine and Gaza in particular. And also at the same time, last week, with the assassination of the leader of Hamas, the political bureau, Dr. Sheikh Ismail Haniya, Rahimahullah as well, has once again demonstrated what this war is about, but also taking a look at not only this Zionist entity called Israel, this genocidal entity called Israel, but also at the same time taking a look at the other major players, the role players, the Western powers in particular, and their role in actually fueling this genocide. And political writer and analyst and commentator and author Dr. Ibrahim Harvey had written a wonderful piece, and this is what we are talking about this history of violence and also at the same time the link and the role of Western powers with Israel. Dr. Ibrahim Harvey, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam, good to be with you.
Dr. Ibrahim, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, good to be with you.
Wonderful. Shukran to you for taking time out and joining us this morning. We trust and hope you're going to have a wonderful Jummah as well. Jummah Mubarak to you. But a very, very interesting piece that you had written. And the point I had made is, the truth will surface at some point in time. And despite all the focus being on the Zionist entity Israel, we need to obviously go back, because there is this long history, this long-standing relationship between Western powers and Israel in fueling this genocide that is taking place in Palestine.
Yes, no, I had an interview with Radio Islam yesterday also on this same column, News 24 column. It's a very complicated situation, and obviously you're alluding to where in fact you should begin if you want to understand the immense complexity of that conflict. It actually starts with the 1924 Balfour Declaration, when Palestine was a colony of Britain. Basically, that's where the origins of the whole thing starts. And then the slaughter of 6 million Jews by Hitler and fascism in Germany, that was more than anything else what got these powers and the Zionist forces to concoct and to move towards the formation of the State of Israel in 1940. So it's a very long and difficult, complex, tortuous history. But that history now doesn't loom as large as the crisis of the moment. You need that history to understand the depth and the gravity of the current crisis, but you can't be too lost in that history. So serious is the current crisis. And indeed, I was telling, yesterday, saying that don't underestimate this thing, really. You need to be very careful, and I hope Iran is being very, very careful, although they have thrown caution to the wind. If you heard what the leader of Iran said, basically, irrespective of the consequences, he said it twice. Iran is going to inflict what he called punishment for Anya's murder and so on. And so we're sitting on the eve of potential, not just a conflagration in that region, but I'm telling you there are elements in it that could lead potentially even to a third world war. Believe me, it is that serious. And there's no exaggeration in what I'm saying at all. If you look at the stakes at play there and what America's doing, sending its jets already, they're ready in that region for any Iranian attack on Israel that they've said they will defend. So everything is set, really. The determination of Israel to inflict punishment and revenge, and the determination, on the other hand, of not just America. The EU is as determined. They've consistently supported Israel from the 7th of October attacks, and you must remember, however, I condemned also those attacks. You mustn't just look at and it's been very vicious what Israel and Zionism has done. But you've got to also look at, if you don't do that, you're being one-sided. Although the Secretary General of the United Nations said when that 7th of October attacks were carried out against Israel and 1,200 people killed, he said, interestingly, although he didn't elaborate, he should have, that those attacks didn't take place in isolation. That's what he said. Unfortunately, he should have embroidered and developed that argument further, because, it gets tricky. But we're sitting now, really, I tell you something, and I'm used to it. I write all the time, but I'm telling you, there's one issue that's in the forefront of my mind. I'm having sleepless nights on it. Believe me, what Iran is going to do and the consequences of that action for the Middle East and globally. And you can see what's happening with the American elections also. There's no doubt if Trump wins that election, we're in bigger trouble, even in that region. Even in that region, if you think Biden and now Harris is supporters of Israel, and they're going to defend it, if they're attacked by Iran, you'll see how much worse it's going to be when Trump, and the relationship between Trump and Russia and Putin is a very complicated thing. And Iran and Russia is in discussions at this moment. Yes, they're in discussions for possible support by they've got relations and they close relations in certain respects. So can you imagine what's going to happen if Russia gets drawn into that thing? Oh, I mean, then China, and it's really has all the potential for a deadly combat, a very, very grave crisis. I'll tell you, I don't think for a couple of decades things are brought now to a head. Now it's a very, very serious crisis that's staring us in the face. And so how it's going to be resolved over the next few days, I'm surprised. I thought by now Iran would have launched that attack already. That's what I thought was going to happen, And, we don't know if by the Sunday night it would have taken place. But more importantly, how the United States, Israel, and its supporters in that region, and the EU also, not just America, is going to respond, and what they're going to do, you see. And so it's very unfortunate, but unfortunately we can't turn back the tide now. It's there. It's done. It's a done deal. All the ingredients for this combustible explosion is there. It's done. You cannot do anything now to change the situation. The only thing now is to see what Iran does. And that will determine the response of Israel, of the United States and the EU and their supporters. But I think this time United States is not going to have as readily the support. You can see already there's been problems between Netanyahu and Biden and the United States. If you follow the media, there's been points of tension, serious tension between the two of them. But I don't think it's big and significant enough to deter solidarity of United States with Israel. And EU people also have some serious misgivings about Netanyahu. They're all, but at the end of the day, they have pledged their support for Israel, and this is the biggest problem. I don't want to get into that. My column goes into that. And this United Nations is to blame for it. That's how do you think the state of Israel is formed in 48? When it was formed, the leader then of what's his name, he called attention. He said that the formation of the state of Israel in 48, which is the same year that the Nationalist Party comes to power, very interestingly in South Africa, was based on the United Nations Declaration. So they drew strength for the formation of Israel from the United Nations. And well, the United Nations today is something quite different from the creature it was in 1948, I mean, it was the United Nations who said that, Secretary General, that the 7th October attacks on Israel cannot be seen in isolation. It was very significant, but he should have developed that argument further. Okay.
Yes, Dr. Ibrahim Harvey. In fact, these are harsh. This is a harsh reality. These are hard facts that are actually staring us in the face. And as you mentioned, there is a ticking time bomb at this point in time. But just looking at Iran, and Iran has been under the radar of America and the West for a very, very long time. Any excuse to have a go at Iran. And
Yes.
at this point in time, I'm not too sure by not reacting, is Iran throwing caution to the wind? Or again, there is also this notion and the sentiment that Iran may be all talk and no action.
No, forget about that completely. Completely, you're mistaken in your analysis. There's no way. Do you know what would happen to the standing of Iran in that region if it pulls back from the precipice now and doesn't wage any attack on Israel? It's impossible. You have to rather ask yourself, instead of no action, what action they're going to take, how they're going to calculate and launch it, and those dynamics. But whether they're going to act is resolved already. I mean, Iran would do itself a massive disservice if it has to pull back now from this precipice now and not wage any retaliatory attack on Israel. It would never. It's impossible. Everybody's waiting for that action now, and that's the problem. Let me tell you something else. And that is why, since the days of slavery, for 500 years, let me tell you, white people have dominated the world. Let me just give you a little bit of it. It's very important for this conflict. Did you have any reparations for slavery? Nothing. The colonial, nothing has the West done, nothing. So we are at a stage now, let me tell you, and America knows it. It's the most brutal military machine in the whole world. And China and the Soviet Union, Russia knows it. And who knows it more than the United States? That is my big fear. They are devastating, let me tell you. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not saying it to intimidate or scare anybody else. Everybody knows it. And the United States, if they have to wage war in that area and bring into play that military machine, that is the most devastating and powerful in the world, I'm telling you, we're going to have serious problems. All of them know it, including Iran. That is why I say we're sitting with a very, very risky situation. I don't know how much research you've done into the military machine of the United States. It is awesome, my friend. It is terrible. I think, you know what? If you put all the countries of Africa together, believe me, listen to me, and their armies, combine the armies of Africa, they'd get a hiding from the United States. That is what I'm saying, so, and Israel knows that. That is why the support of the United States has been the biggest problem. I can tell you, without the United States support, and it's not just military, they give them billions of dollars every year in aid. So it's a combination of financial and military aid. Without that, Israel is hated so much in that region that it would have collapsed. It would never have survived Israel. Israel has only survived because of the military might of the United States and the financial backing. It would have long been gone. Israel would have been collapsed, destroyed, believe me, was it not for the United States. And they know it, you see. And this is partly why Netanyahu has done what he's done. He's had the biggest public protest that Israeli leaders ever faced. Yeah, this is what I bring in my column too. So it's not all the Jews that are horrible people. There are hundreds of thousands of people who took to the streets of Tel Aviv, of the various parts of Israel, who was demanding his resignation, who wants him out. It's very important. Otherwise, And one day you need to have a debate on this platform. Let me tell you, it's very complex matter. This whole thing of anti-Semitism. And what they've invited is the floodgates of that to be opened up. Because, to people, ordinary people who don't go and do research and, a whole lot of stuff, they just hate the Jews. You find, I watched something on TV, I must tell you about this very quickly. In the week, Monday, Tuesday, an American academic was interviewed. And he spoke about this danger of anti-Semitic hatred that's developing. And unwittingly, Israel is fomenting the worst anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic sentiments ever, right now. After what has happened, the retaliation of Israel to the events of it has never been so bad. All over on campuses, students everywhere. This hatred for Jewish people, I'm saying it's misplaced, it's misguided. You cannot do that. That is anti-Semitic. You cannot paint, just like you could not paint the white people in South Africa with one brush. There was Beyers Naudé, there was Bram Fischer, there were lots of people. The same thing, logic must be applied to the Jews. There are a lot of progressive Jews, even in South Africa and in Israel. They took to the streets, demanding the resignation of Netanyahu. You should be in solidarity with those people. You see, this is it. This is what's needed. And there has been in Palestine. You must remember, 20% of the population of Palestine are Arab Palestinians. And so there's been joint marches with those people. And Jewish people, progressive people who've demanded the resignation of Netanyahu. I'm just saying, look at.
Yes, just one more thing, Dr. Harvey, just looking at the greater Middle East. Now, you spoke about the military-industrial complex. You spoke about the might of the U.S. military. And it is clear one cannot obviously compare the U.S. military to any other country around the world because of its superiority and its power as well. And the Middle East, the greater Middle East region, for Iran as well. We know there are American military bases all over the show in the Middle East as well. So one needs to take that into account, but also what could some of the consequences be for Iran from the other Middle Eastern countries, because we know that some of them had previously, they've normalized relationship with the Zionist entity as well. And again, many of them are close to the United States of America. When one looks at Saudi Arabia and its relationship with Iran, what had taken place in Yemen, all of that are factors that one needs to take into account.
Yes, no, absolutely, and very important. I don't think the United States forgets about that for one moment. It knows that though it's got a storm against, what it has done in the support for Israel, they've got some allies in that region also, and so it's a very complicated conflagration that's developing in that part of the world, and it's a very, very difficult thing, really. That's why I'm on tenterhooks, to be honest with you. What's going to happen today, Saturday, Sunday, into Monday? I think by Monday, really, the way the scene is set globally, I think Iran would have acted by Monday. Between now and Monday, something is going to happen. I suspect it's going to be over the weekend, in the wee hours of the morning. You're going to have massive, whether they're going to coordinate the attacks, that's the thing. Nobody knows what the strategy, and the leaders haven't, they've just said it could happen in different ways, but they haven't spelled out very clearly what their strategy is going to be. But I'll tell you, even if they combine all the different players and Iran gets the support of the other players in the field, you're still going to have a very, very ghastly situation. I'm telling you, the United States and Israel doesn't care a damn. Let me tell you, that is how people, they don't care a damn who's going to support Iran. And this is what our fear should be, really, is the retaliation of the United States and Israel and their backers when Iran takes action. This is the biggest fear I have. Let me be honest with you. And unfortunately, you can't turn back the tide. It's gone. It's gone, and so we on the eve of what, as I say, I'm not exaggerating. Not just a regional conflagration in that part of a very historically volatile region of the world, the Middle East, but the potential for a third world war. Believe me, do not diminish even the nuclear threat. Lots of things could happen, and I think many analysts don't look at things. It's very gravely serious, really.
Well, Dr. Ibrahim Harvey, I wish I could talk to you much longer, but I'm going to hold you to a more detailed discussion. We normally have a detailed panel discussion when we unpack and we analyze a lot more in detail when we have a lot more time. So I'm going to hold you to that discussion at some point in
Okay.
time. But for now, we thank you. We say Jazakallah to you for your time.
Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam. Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye. All right.
Dr. Ibrahim Harvey, political writer, analyst with us this morning. And clearly, the signs are there, and let us see what happens this weekend. We're going to go for a quick break, and when we come back, it's going to be Jummah Inspirations, and we will then continue with the second half of this morning's broadcast right here on Salam Media.